for me, I never wanted to be, and still will not, or become that fit gym owner dad that's only pushing my son and my family just for health, fitness, sports, and all that stuff. So I was always conscious of it until I really created the habit of where I don't have to think about it anymore. So to really find that balance, what I did was health is number one, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Welcome to the Founder's Journey podcast, where we unravel the life stories of unique and successful entrepreneurs. We will take a deep dive into their highs and lows and over-the-top accomplishments. So get ready for the Founder's Journey podcast with your host, Jimmy Dulambakis.
All right, we have Anthony Espo here today on Founders Journey Podcast. Anthony, thank you for being here. We're really excited about interviewing you about your life and lessons learned and who you are. And I know you a long time, so I'm really excited about hearing your life story, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. The fact that our history goes back decades, all right? It's exciting to be here with you too as well. So
I think the first time I met you was at basketball was it St. Ephraim? No, was it St. Ephraim's basketball?
St. Ephraim's.
We were like 12 or 13 years old. So it's been many years.
So how about this, dude? 3 decades. So
Yeah, that's exactly 3 decades. Wow, I feel old now. All right, so let me ask you this. Let's go back to your where'd you grow up?
grew up in Bay Ridge in Brooklyn.
And what was like life in Bay Ridge for you? Like how'd what was
I'll tell you this, and I'm sure you could relate, or if you remember, but Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, growing up, we were always on the streets. We were, and not, you know, the bad streets. We were just outside. We were playing handball. We were playing basketball. We were playing football. We were playing, manhunt, bike tag, sewer to sewer, relay. So we were always outside being active. It was nice.
and you have like your siblings, how many you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have an older brother and a younger sister. That and again, there was so many kids in the apartment building that we grew up in, and plus on our block, or in the couple blocks over, there were so many kids outside. We were always, I would say at least 25 kids at any given time, always hanging out, doing something.
And when you were growing up, like, did you have any like entrepreneurship? Like, were your parents entrepreneurs, or were your like family members entrepreneurs, or did they just work regular jobs? Like,
Yeah, a little bit of both, but my mother was an entrepreneur. She was a hustler. There was nothing that, for us, she was always, work, make money, take care of the kids, cook, and make sure stuff was done at home. And she checked on us with school a little bit. I was always a good student, thank God. So she kind of left me alone for with school, for that matter. However, something that always stuck with me was the hustler side that I would see with her, right? So when I was 10 years old, I started delivering newspapers in the morning, right? And I started cutting my friend's hair in my basement. So for me, I was charging $5 a haircut. I'm like, oh wow, I can make $5. I could do five. I can make 25, and then it just started multiplying.
and when you were growing up, were you a kid that like followed the rules? Were you very did you when you were in like elementary school and middle school? Like, what kind of kid were you?
For me, I followed the rules, but I was a little wild, in a sense of, in a good way, laughing, jokes, prankster. Always wanted to have a good time, and so I would say, as far as, you know, breaking chops, that would probably be the extent of being, a bad boy or something like that.
Yeah. And what was your lessons from like sports and stuff, playing with running around and just being like on the streets? Like what
Competitive. Competitive competition. You need competition. You want to grow in this world, you need competition. It has to be competitive. And the conditioning, the mental and physical conditioning that you have to endure in sports also applies in life. And I try and stress it to friends or parents or people that I meet or know. I'm like, "Dude, you got to put your kids in sports." you know? And again, put my career aside, the health and fitness aspect, shelf it right now. It applies to life in my mind.
And I guess I have young children, right? And you have
Right.
kids. How do you balance that freedom of being a child, running around and just being free, and not over committing to the sports where there are
Yeah.
three different teams and they're playing 11 months out of the year? We
Yeah.
played sports, it was 3, 4 months, and then we had to wait till next season to play again, right?
Yeah. That's a good question. So for me, I never wanted to be and still will not or become that fit gym owner dad that's only pushing my son and my family just for health, fitness, sports, and all that stuff. So I was always conscious of it until I really created the habit of where I don't have to think about it anymore. So to really find that balance, what I did was health is number one, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So there's non-negotiables, right? So in my house, we're always eating a certain way, which some people may say it's healthy. We're just saying it's eating, right? So we keep the foundations really strong. And not to mention, if we tried so many sports with my son when he was younger, and what we saw really lit him on fire and that he loved, we pushed him towards in a respectful way where he doesn't rebel or hate us for it or anything like that.
But
So really
resent you.
finding the
Yeah.
the balance and the non-negotiables within your household, within what your core family values are, and staying within that so you can't, I don't want to say screw up, but I think where you won't get that rebellious acts or that guilt as a parent or from a child. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm kinda at that point, like, my son, he tried a bunch of sports,
right.
wasn't interested in a lot of it, and I signed him up to martial arts, and he
Nice.
really likes it. So we're kinda going with that. He likes a little swimming, but I'm trying to limit the amount of sports, right? To where he can focus and, like, develop within that sport,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Instead of him doing 4 different sports, and also kids get hurt, if they're over committing themselves. A lot of young kids are getting injuries a lot younger than we
Mhm.
used to. So that's interesting. So let me ask, so back to your mom now. You said your mom was a hustler. She was in business. What type of businesses was your mom in? Or what businesses she had?
So she had a bicycle store that I later took over when she got sick, but you saw, like, if we were out to dinner, we were going food shopping. She ran into somebody. She was selling, 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 always marketing her, promoting her and her business to get people into the door. So I don't realize that when I'm young, right? This is stuff that I realized later on in life as a parent. You see things different when you're a parent versus not being a parent. And all of these little things I put together, I'm like, wow, holy, you don't even see it that you're being groomed for it without even trying to be groomed because we're so I'm big on leading by example. So she was what she thought was leading by example, and I'm in agreement with, later on.
Yeah, it's interesting now as a parent myself. I'm noticing like things that my parents did. Like when my kid was first born, I called my mom and I told her I was sorry for being the kid I was. Yeah. So like just to get an understanding. All right. So
Yeah,
you're listening. Your mom's like, "Hey, come into the bike store. I got this. We got new bikes." She's working on them. You're in there. I'm assuming you're doing a little bit of work. She's probably got you in there in the summers.
absolutely.
And
No, I was in there every day after school. So I would deliver my newspapers at 5 a.m. I'd go to school, and then so let's say we got out at 2:40. If I was not at the bicycle store at 2:50, if I was a minute late, she'd rip me to shreds. Literally rip me to shreds. and then I'd have to work until night. I would have to do my homework there and then come home. And then between my brother, my sister, and I, she had chores that we had to do daily. And if we didn't do that, forget it. She was a drill sergeant. And back then, hated it, right? Because it was so tough. And but today I'm extremely thankful for it.
Well, they say there's a saying someone told me they will love you now, hate you later, or hate you now, love you later. And I guess the metaphor is the toughness that you instill in them now will create this like for example, your ability to be able to do things and withstand things later on in your life, which you're agreeing to. What do you
Yes.
think about like? Is there a balance? Like, is you too tough or too soft? Like I don't I'm not here to judge everyone's family, but, how do you balance that?
Yeah, so we have to thank our parents for everything they've done and everything they didn't do in our eyes, right? So maybe in their eyes at the time, they thought they were doing the right thing, and they probably were. Who knows, right? We came out pretty okay. So I always say we thank them for what they've done and what they've haven't done. So when we are kids, I mean, when we become adults and have children, have our own kids, we say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I remember what my mom has done, but I'm going to change something. Oh, I remember she didn't do this. Maybe I want to do that. Or maybe she did too much of this. Let me scale it back a bit. So, taking that in the world we are today, in the people that we are today, and say, okay, this is the life that we're going to form and how we're going to raise our kids. So this is, I mean, how we run our household. And there are those deep conversations, right? With your spouse about that. And then you have the conversations with your kids too, in within reason, respectfully of how old they are, of how much they understand, how much you want to teach them at that point, because they
And
have
it's just
to.
constant. It's
It's
constant.
constant.
It
Yeah.
never ends. And the deep conversations you have with yourself, right? You're probably talking to yourself
Big
like,
time.
"Hey, what's that?"
Self-talk is extremely important. I say that all the time because you're listening, you know?
It's true, it's true. You might not take the advice for yourself, but you're listening sometimes. So
Yeah,
let me
well,
ask.
when you don't wanna take the advice, it's the right one.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good statement. So what about like was your father around? I know you
Yeah,
mentioned.
no, I didn't mention him. So my parents are divorced since I'm 5. My dad worked at the Fulton Fish Market for years, maybe 30 something years. Um, he wasn't much involved. He did what he could, but understanding the dynamic of 2 parents that were divorced, and at that time really didn't get along, it's totally understandable today. Um, but he's still around today. He's always here. He's, with his grandkids and everything. So and he's retired, which is a good
That's
thing.
good. And
Yeah.
so growing up, you're in Brooklyn, you're in high school now, you're trying to figure yourself out. Where are you gonna go? Like, what was your game plan from high school on? Like, where were you gonna go to college? Did you go to college? Like, what was your game plan?
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom was like, "You gotta go to college." Right? But for me, at high school, I was selling jewelry, I was selling sneakers, I was selling cell phones, beepers. I was anything that I could get my hands on to buy and sell and flip, buy, sell, flip, while still doing the newspaper, still doing the bicycle store. I remember there was times where I mean, I probably only slept a couple hours a night just because I was trying to hustle and make more money. Um, and it wasn't right. The biggest thing that came out when, college years, early 20s was MySpace. So we didn't really have platforms to advertise things that we were selling. So for me, it was like, all right, I see kids in school. All right, I see kids at the park. I might see kids here hanging out. So that's how my mindset was, where I was always saying, I want to be this big businessman that owns multiple businesses, and I could do what I want. That's how, like, where my head was at that time.
And did you do it for like so did you do it for status or did you do it for money or did you do it for the ability to do whatever you want, the freedom? What was one?
At that time, if you're talking about high school, it was definitely status and money. I didn't care about anything else. You know, how old are we? We're late teenagers, mid to late teenagers at that time. So it was like a cool thing to be able, and I mean, I enjoyed the hustle. I enjoyed, all right, how quick can I get rid of this? You know? So that to me, I was like, all right, you know what? I just bought 4 Air Max. All right, let me see if I could sell them by Monday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was exciting for me.
Do you think it was part of our culture? Like at that time, we had, the rich and famous, NTV, all the music videos coming out with the cars and the money and the jewelry. Like I feel like it was kind of our culture was trying to instill that into us, like that you need the
Yeah.
money, you need the power.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? That's a good question. I'm sure it definitely played a role to some degree. Um, it was like, hey, did you see that new music video with, whatever it was? Right now we could see whatever the hell we want in 2 seconds, right? So
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really
yeah.
changed.
And not to mention, when we were younger, we didn't have much, so we had to work. We had to make money. I got a newspaper out 10 years old. My mom's like, "You have a job, don't ever ask me for another dollar for as long as you live." So are you gonna how old are your kids? You said you had 3 kids,
Two,
right?
3, and 6. Yeah.
Okay,
So right now, my plan is lemonade stand and hot chocolate stand in the cold winter. I'm gonna
right,
bundle them up and put a 6 foot 6 foot table right on the main road where I live, and we're just gonna sell hot chocolate, and they get to
right.
keep the money. But
That's nice. See.
I was trying to explain to my son what expenses are. He goes, "What is that, Dad?" I go, "The expenses are we have to buy the cups, we have to buy the hot chocolate, the water." He goes, "Well, the water's free." I go, "No, the water's not free." I go, "Somebody's got to pay for the water."
Ugh, that's
So
great.
I'm trying to teach
But you
him.
know what? You know what, Jimmy? All these little things, they're back here somewhere, for them. And again, I don't know if you can relate, but just from my experience, little things pop up, and I think the more that we ingrain it into them, it's going to become a part of them. So to some degree, let's just say your son, doesn't become an entrepreneur, doesn't become into business for himself. Let's say he goes into finance and whatever the case may be, he might produce 10 times more than the average because of all these little things.
I agree. I agree with that.
So
So now, so you're in high school. You go. Did you end up going to college? Like, what happened after? Where did you go?
So, no, I went to CSI for, I don't know, 2 months, and then I just left. I'm like, I started with business and, my ego was, I know everything that they tell me. What do I need to go here for? It doesn't even matter. So I just left. I didn't even tell my mom until later on. I kept my schedule, and my schedule was from 7 to 10, Monday through Thursday. I'll never forget because it had to be after work. Um, so I'm like, I'm not bothering with this. Then next semester came around. I enrolled again. I'm like, I have to do it. I stayed maybe like, 2 weeks, and that was it. And then I told her, I'm like, listen, it's not for me, and I don't want to do it. She's like, you better work 10 times harder then.
Yeah, I guess the mentality at that time was that the degree was gonna bring you into the path, like open the doors for you to get good income. Like growing up, I wanted to work a regular job. I was just a regular kid from Brooklyn. I never thought that I was gonna own a business. I was just like whatever. So I go to college, and I kind of had, I wouldn't say the same view. I just felt like, what am I doing here? I was at the time I was in events. I was making good money. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm sitting here with blah blah studies and historical. I'm like, how is this going to help me in my life? And anytime I brought it up to the professor, they were like, you need this. This is going to groom you. I just didn't feel like it was for me. So I actually stayed. I went to college for 3.5 years because I felt guilty because my mom told me I had to get a degree. So I kept dragging it out. And finally, I just told her, I said, "Ma, I can't do this anymore. The college is not for me." At that time, I already started an event business. I was
Mhm.
doing well. I was learning so much just being out into the world. that I was like, this degree isn't going to help me. And now I think we're in crossroads of like what education is, debt in college, and things like that. And there's a lot of discussions on that. We don't have to get into it, but I do think that there should be a better path for students that maybe are not meant for college. You
Yeah,
know
there's
what I
been
mean?
a lot of talk about that lately too, especially with some big speakers and some people that really advocate against that because they're entrepreneurs. But let me ask you this: what was your mom's response after you said that you're not school's not for you?
Well, so it's interesting. The story is a little bit longer. What happened was my dad died when I was 19. So my mom was like, "You have to go to college because we don't have, your father's gone. So the biggest income of my household left. So my mom's like, you have to go to college so you get a better chance of making income and surviving and
Mhm.
being on your own." And when I left, I said to my mom, I said, "Mom, I'm doing all these things." And I remember years later, she came and saw one of my events. It was like a festival that I was doing. And she was like, she turned to me and she goes, "You know what?" She goes, "Work for yourself. Don't work for anybody else."
Mm,
I was like, "Ma, 10 years too late. Like, you could have told me that when I was in college." But she was scared. She didn't know. She was an immigrant mom.
yeah,
For them, it's like, just follow this path. This is what everyone else is doing. Follow it, you'll be all right.
yeah. Well, you know what too, and my wife's parents were immigrants, and they came over here too. I give them any immigrant a lot of credit because for me at 17 or 16 or whatever age, I would not pick up and go to another country totally blind, not speaking the language, not knowing anybody. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So,
And that's why I think statistically, most of the immigrants that come to any country, usually a lot of them become entrepreneurs because they don't have access to education to go the normal path. All right, so so you're working. So now you're in college. Like, what was your career path? What were you doing? You're not selling Max ones, Jordans, and stuff at this point. You're
no,
working.
so no, I'm still so now that I'm in college, I'm still heavy with the sneakers, right? Um, I started buying and selling motorcycles and dirt bikes. Like that was because that was so easy to do. I would get they sell the newspaper, right? Every week it came out, and in the back there were the ads. So I would go in the ads and see what people were selling, and I'd negotiate with them. So if they said, 4,000 for this, I'm like, all right, 2,000. No matter what they said, I would go half, and then I'd go back and forth, and then I'd have to go see it. So um, you know that was more of the thing, and then like 22, 23. My mom's dad started a jewelry business. He died young. His wife, my grandmother, took it over, and then my mom's brother, my uncle, as he grew, he took over the business. So, back then, chains, medallions, crosses, like all of this was so big, right? So anything diamond related, watches with bezels, I was like, let me take him down to my uncle, right? People would ask, hey, you got family in the business? Yes, no problem. All right. So we wind up taking him down. You hear that howling? That's
Yep.
my dog.
Oh, okay. I heard a little.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very faint. I can't
Yeah,
hear it
yeah.
too.
He howls. Crazy. He'll go. But so I took him down and my uncle was like, here's 200 bucks. I'm like, what's this for? He goes, you got me a good customer. He goes, anybody you come down, I'll give you money. I was like, all right. So I was like, I could find a new hustle. And before you knew it, I was doing the jewelry store, the bike shop, my hustle. In the first year, I grew his business like 200K. So, and it was, dude, it was so easy. I would buy a chain or a watch on a Friday at the Diamond Exchange, and I'd have it sold by Friday or Saturday because I'd go out Friday or Saturday night and like, yo, you want this? Yo, you want this? And I made a lot more money with that too because it was at that time there was a bigger margin.
Yeah. Now it's more competitive because you could buy stuff
Oh,
online.
forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. I don't even bother, no, I mean, I mean, you're talking 20 years ago anyway, so
So at one point you said you took over the bike shop. Your mom
yeah,
was not doing well. She was sick.
correct.
And what happened during that time?
So I was doing the jewelry for a couple years. My mom got sick, and she's like, "You need to take over and help out." So I took a bigger role. I stopped doing the jewelry, and I would just send customers to my uncle. Um, and then I stayed on that route. My mother, she's fighting cancer for about 2.5 years. Unfortunately, she didn't make it. She died. And when she got sick, she had this lump in her neck. And I'll never forget this doctor who is an incredible person. He was a customer, right? And we would tell my mom, like, you need to go to the doctor. But she was stubborn, Brooklyn, old school, like she didn't want to hear it. So I call him and I'm like, listen, Dr. Verber, you gotta come in. My mom has this knot in her neck. She's not listening to us, but she'll listen to you. He goes, I'll be there tomorrow. So I said, don't say we told you to come in.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I'll be there tomorrow. He goes, what is this? And he helped make all the appointments, set everything up. And then from there, it was, game on, really. So at that point, she calls us from the hospital. She's like, I have cancer. I'm like, all right, ma, don't worry about it. It's all good. We're gonna get through it. And if anyone could have beaten it, and I get it, destiny, I really thought it was her, but I know she gave up, just living it every day. So once that happened, for about 3 weeks, I wasn't hungry. I had no appetite. I didn't want to be bothered. I was just like really getting in my head of like, wow, what the fuck is going on right now? Like this is actual the world. This is the real world. And I had to start thinking like, who am I? Where am I going? What am I gonna do in this life? So shifted where it's like, I need to wake up. And I didn't, it's not like I was asleep, but I really was, right? So business wise and again, hustle, I was doing great, but now I'm like, you need to lock in and start focusing. So from there, I stayed on the journey of the bicycle store. I got married and I started teaching at the time. It was called, boot camp for free in the park for 2 years. And from there, I just built a business.
Hold on before you, because I want to touch up on that.
Yeah,
So you had a couple life events, right? You took over the bike shop and you're leading and building it out. You get
yeah,
married, which is it's a big life event, right? You
yeah.
end up marrying your wife, and the boot camp. Can you explain to how that started? Would you just go into the park, or did you call people and say, "Come meet me here"? Like, what happened?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
why did you do that?
So
Because I know it was early in the morning. What time was it? 6:30?
no, so I started working out in a park before anybody was working out on the bars or doing anything outdoors. And I only had a gym membership to when it rained or when it snowed. I didn't give a damn. Like I had gloves on. I used to put equipment in the back of my pickup, take it out to the park. And I started YouTubing all of these workouts to see what other people were doing because I was getting bored myself at the gym. And not to mention, I was getting hurt doing all these weights and heavy weights where I thought at the time fitness was at. So I met this guy, this one of my old customers. He was doing races in like Spartan races, but he had his own events race group. Anyone who participated, I would teach them boot camp. So we collabed, right? A couple people, one, two, three, first couple weeks. I put a sign in my bicycle store, free boot camp at these times. Um, and then the rest is history, dude. It just started fucking blowing up, and this was really lighting me on fire because I always loved anything health and fitness related. So this was a path that when I was like 28, 29, I'm like, wow, I could make this my career. And that's exactly what I did.
So tell me, so then you just created Badass Academy, right? That's what led from that. And tell me about the
Correct.
business.
Yeah. So we created Badass Academy, functional fitness group training facility where at that time nobody was doing just classes. So when I would meet people in the industry, they're like, "Wait, your gym's name is Badass Academy?" So I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You only do classes?" So I'm like, "Yeah." And to me, I was like, it's no big deal. But people that have been in the industry before me, they either thought it was an incredible idea and or that I was totally out of my mind because how was I going to produce money just doing classes? So made a bunch of mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes I made was when I opened, we had a software company that wasn't debiting our clients' cards. So we took like another 60K hit, which was, at the time, I just spent my bank account, right? The bicycle store, because Amazon plummeted my sales 40%. I just had a kid and my wife stopped working. So I had to start paying health benefits, which my mom back then, she's like, You're fine." I never went to a doctor. We only went to the dentist. So it's so
This
crazy,
is great. I love. This is
you
real
know?
ultimate Brooklyn. Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of moving things, but I went from making X amount to go half, almost half, 40% down. My wife's income, now I'm paying X amount for
Health
health
insurance.
coverage
Yeah.
monthly. And I just spent all my money to open up this gym. And I'm like, what the is going on right now? Dude, I was in such a daze. Not to mention my son, he's like a year old, and you're becoming a parent for the first time. My both my mom and my wife's mom they both died of cancer, so it's like we don't have that go-to. Never had like anyone to lean on or, "Hey, watch your grandkid for 2 hours," So it was pretty rough, mentally for sure. What I did make sure that I did, no matter what, I made sure I worked out. I made sure I still stayed as positive as I could, and I made sure that I ate good. So that and I'm firm on that. That will always be better than not. I mean, it's just, 1 plus 1 is 2 with that. So,
So let me ask you,
um,
once in a while, do you ever, slip a couple Oreo cookies or some chocolate chip
chocolate
cookies?
chip, chocolate
Chocolate
chip
chip.
cookie.
Once in a while. Once in a while. Not often. Not
I'm
often.
human.
Yeah. You're at a
I work
birthday
my ass off.
party.
I deserve it.
Yeah. Listen. um. So for me, I had a bad issue with comfort eating. So I would
Mhm.
eat sweets and pizza and things like that because it reminded me of when I was a kid. So psychologically, I was stress eating. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't even realize that was a thing until, like, later on in my life, and then I realized, oh, I was literally catching myself in a stressful moment going in the pantry to pull the sweets out, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Stop." So I realized okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna replace the sweets with something that
There
is
you go.
good. And listen, I go out, I'll have a drink, I'm human, but I've
Mhm.
changed the way I eat,
Good.
uh, because and the other thing is you take your blood work, and your blood work will tell you what's going on with you, and no one knows how to read their blood work. And listen, I love the doctors, but doctors like, "Oh, you have a little high blood pressure, we'll put you on this pill." Well, hold on a second. Let me try and get rid of these things out of my diet, and I'll come back in 6 months, and if it's still high, then I'll take the medication. And,
Yeah.
sure enough, it worked out. So tell me about, like, you're going through this mental how did you stay positive during this period?
So, a couple things. One, looking back at it, not because she's my wife, but Joanne is great. I don't know if you remember Joanne. She's my high
Yeah.
school sweetie. Yeah, right. So been together since high school. She is so supportive of all my crazy ideas and conversations and stuff like that. She keeps it so real, and I love her every second about it. For it. So having that support system and not a wife who is like trying to crush you or like you know really beat beat you down when you're down. And for me as a man, I won't show it, but I'm always going to continue to move forward and try and figure out another way. Even if I'm in a stressful state, right? I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I have a healthy wife, healthy son, have a roof over my head. I'm always practicing gratitude because it makes a major difference. You got to remind yourself of what you really have in life. Um, so that that one thing, and then two, I'm like, I want to see this work because this is what I want. So I need to push.
Mm.
So that's what I did.
And how do you practice gratitude? So I do gratitude as soon as I wake up on the side of my bed. I take a couple deep breaths and I say I'm grateful for XYZ, whatever it may be.
So
I kind of ground myself. What's your practice?
good. So I do when I wake up, why am I thankful to open my eyes today? Right. And then the second before I go to bed, so I go to sleep with a happy thought and more of a calm state. I ask myself, what was my happiest moment of today? Could be
Mm.
anything. Be like, wow, I got to talk to my old buddy Jimmy that I haven't spoken to in forever. Right. It shouldn't be on autopilot. It's for you to reflect on your day, on your thoughts, to really say, oh wow, okay, cool. So instead of shit happens to everyone all day, every day, and we all have our own shit in life. So, how can you say, let me forget about that stuff, and not like sweep it under the rug because you gotta like pay attention to it too as well. But let me end my day on something great that happened because there's so many great things that happen every single day.
So do you like shelf it for like a later period where you kind of
No, if there's something that happens, and I used to be a big procrastinator, I'm like, I'll get to it because I know I could do it, right? I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And before you know it, that pile gets higher and higher. And I'm like, shit, now I'm backed up. So you gotta attack it when you can, you know?
So tell me about Badass Academy. Like you started the business. Let's run through that. Like what was how long you been in business actually right now?
So February would be 14 years. Started the business. I pulled in a friend of mine to teach as well, and then I pulled in another friend for marketing. Unfortunately, things didn't work out. So we made the proper arrangements. So my buddy who's instructing, he's still there with me today, teaching. The person from marketing is no longer there, and you wind up making mistakes, which are actually blessings in life, but you're learning as you go. So, to touch on like, yeah, you could be in college and learn all this stuff, and you need college for certain things. There's no doubt. But I think for being in business for yourself, hands on is the best experience. And at times it's going to cost you money and time, but I'd rather it cost me money instead of time because the time we won't get back, the money we will. We'll make it again.
Yeah, I believe that too. And what was the result of Badass Academy? Like the people that have come there, the community that you
Yeah,
felt like
yeah,
talk about that, you
yeah,
know?
that's a good question. Our community there it's unmatched. I love the people, what they give me, the life that they give me is incredible. I'm able to impact lives on a daily basis. I'm gonna read a text, right? This is one of my members just texted me before we got on this, right? Hold on. I'll show you. I'm gonna read you what she says. Hey, I'm texting you with my friend. Please help her out and guide her the best that you can. So her friend says, thank you. So she replies, you're more than welcome. Anthony's more than a trainer to me. I trust him with my health, my child, my family. He's always advising me and guiding me to get stronger and healthier. He's one of a kind, a real person, no BS because he cares. That that is priceless. And it's for just those simple words, which is why I'm even fueled even more. I don't, I could hit the lotto tomorrow. I'm still gonna do what I'm doing.
It's interesting you say that because, like, for me, this project right here, interviewing entrepreneurs, is the fire for me, you know. So, and what's
Nice.
interesting is for 3 years I avoided it. Oh, I'll do it later. I'll push it along. I would buy one mic for, and then 6 months later I'd buy, the camera and all, and the itch just didn't go away. And I said, you know what? That's why I was laughing when you said you procrastinated because it took me 3 years to launch this podcast, which
That
is hysterical, but also sad at the same time. But here I am now. I'm like, okay, let's do it. We're going to roll and let's see what happens. And what I'm learning from all the individuals I'm interviewing, like yourself, is worlds of knowledge. And I'm realizing there's a lot of commonality between a lot of them in different ways, right? What was the fire like? You're out there in the cold, in the heat, you're working out at the park, but you
Yeah.
also opened it up to the community to come. So there was like a fire there. What was the core reason you did that in the park, doing the boot camps for free? Because you used to do, you were running around hustling to make money, but yet
Yeah.
this one thing you didn't charge for.
It wasn't about the money. I loved it. And money is a driving component. There's no doubt about it. And if I stayed exactly where I am today, I'd say, okay. I wouldn't be satisfied, but I would say okay, right? Because my bills are paid, I have a roof, I'm okay. But for me, I need to grow, right? So it's a driving component. But at that time, I didn't care, dude. It was so incredible to just have someone come over to you and say, "Oh my god, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my god." Where there was even a couple at the time where they were going through a rocky point in their marriage, and boot camp twice a week in the park for free saved their marriage because they were able to bond and have that time alone with each other and really get back to who they were before. And they've expressed this to us at that time. And we were like, at the time, we were like, no way. In our heads, we're like, no way. That's incredible. Like you can't put a price on that, dude.
So tell me about the business. What were some ups and downs that you faced that you learned from? You spoke about the partnership
Yeah.
and whatnot and that, but is there
Yeah.
anything else?
Yeah. The ups and downs will always be like this as long as they're not so high and so down. And I've learned that throughout the years not to just fire from the hip, right? And just like pull the trigger and go. Really think about stuff a little bit more and from different angles, different shoes, different perspectives, different lenses, and kind of make decisions a little bit better. And I think that just comes with experience and time and maturity. Um, some of the some of the mistakes that I made with my team or teams that I had throughout my staff was I didn't put enough work into them like I do now, right? And I'm not talking now this year. I'm talking, since probably before COVID, right? So the first few years, you're not thinking of it that way. I'm like, all right, let me grow the business. But if I could grow my staff member who will help me grow the business, and I could, and it kind of just meshes together, and it bit me in the ass, plenty of times. But I'd rather have that. I'd rather get bit in the ass and have a better team before not doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You got
You
to
know?
invest in your team. What happened during COVID?
Oh my god,
What was COVID like with the business?
it was horrible. I spent my savings. I went broke. Um, they shut us down for 9.5 months, and because we were group fitness, we were not allowed to reopen. If you were a martial arts studio, you were able to open because they didn't think of it as in the same category as group fitness, which, I was bitter about it. I didn't respect it. So fast forward anyway, we're shut down 9.5 months. We made some changes. I pulled in a Buy a Bar juice bar, Buy a Bar, the franchise.
Yeah.
So we had a juice bar there. So we contacted them. We closed that deal. We opened up with them, which was a great addition to the facility, right? So now I don't have to run the juice bar. I don't have to think about it. And we have a great complement of a brand within our brand. So now I can focus more on the business. But it was tough trying to crawl out of that. If our members we dropped like 80%. So now we have to build that. Now we don't have that income coming in. It's like, dude, you're scrambling. We literally had to rebuild from scratch. It's as if we reopened, and I did everything the right way. I didn't open my doors for anybody. I lent out all my equipment for anyone who kept their membership. We taught virtual, live, right? 3 times a day. Was actually teaching for Spartan Race. I was doing their virtual classes too, as well. Um, so on a business end, it was rough. On a family end, it was fantastic. Dude, it was probably one of the best times of my life with my wife and my son. Like, not having to work is great, but I was still working a little, like going to the gym, working out, and then teaching live. That was cool. But then coming home and having that, it was really a nice time.
Yeah, I have a similar situation. We during COVID, we left. I was in Manhattan. We thought
Uh-huh.
it was only going to be 2 weeks, so we go down to the Jersey Shore. And once my kid was born, I I was like full on. I got to work. I got to provide. You know, when you go into that like male, like you got to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see my newborn son. I was out all day working. I would come home, I'd put him to bed. I'd see him early mornings. I'd feed him when he was like, or 5, 6 months.
Mhm.
And then COVID, I had this, I was not going anywhere. And I was like hanging out with him and taking him for walks and playing with them. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, what was I doing this whole time? It's really crazy, like how all this stuff happens. But see, it's interesting. Like, you could have just complained about COVID and being shut down and having, but but there was another part of that that was a blessing, and that's interesting. That mindset that you have is really good. Like,
Thank you, but
it's
there was 2
fascinating.
blessings too, because I was still able to do what I love and impact lives, right? Obviously, it was like this on a screen, but it's fine. Um,
And then when you reopened, did you get a lot of people coming back that were like missing it, or was it a slow build?
um, it was a slow build for sure. You know, but the hustle never stopped, and I mean, until today, I'm doing better than I did before COVID at my peak. So, everything happens for you, not to you. So, for whatever reason that happened, whether it gave, and it just speaking from my shoes, it gave me more time with my family, that incredible time. And also, August 31st, 2019, a few months before COVID, was when I got rid of the bicycle store. So I went full on gym. I'm like, I'm not doing this no more. I want to put all my efforts into the gym, and then boom,
Boom.
March 16th, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah, like months later. So,
So
I know we only have a few more minutes left. You have to jump off. So, is there any like any framework, books, or any no anything that you want to share with like other entrepreneurs of like what you've been through, and obviously food, cleaning, eating clean, sleeping,
yeah,
exercise. Yeah, but what else would you share? And I know you wrote a book, and I'd like you to touch on that too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one, health and fitness is number one. And I say that in a selfish but selfless way. You're healthy for you, you're gonna be amazing for your family. So they're number 1 with your health, right? I'm not gonna say they're number 2, because it goes hand in hand. And yes, I did write a book called Wahoo's in Life. Wahoo's is an acronym for we all have our own shit in life. Um, and it's about self-help, mental, self-motivation, right? To help you with your mental, to get out of things in a way that you don't need a degree to get out of things. It's just a lot of things are so common sense in a way that we're putting so much effort, and we're putting so much fog and clouds around our thoughts, and we can't see through it, where it's just a lot of stuff is just black and white, and we got to strip the emotions and take it for what it is. And fast forward a couple months ago, my son wrote a book too at 14 called Becoming Stronger Than Your Mind. So like we were saying before, you were teaching your son about expenses, right? So all these little things of my conversations with my son, sending him these memes, showing him this stuff. He's seeing what I'm doing, leading by example. And this is just one. small payout, for me. I'm not even talking for him, like, to see that, and he didn't even tell us he was writing a book. He comes to Joanna and I, he's like, "I wrote a book." We're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I wrote a book." I'm like, "About what?" So, like, as a parent, you're like, "Wow, I'm doing something right." So,
You lead by example. So, any other books that you recommend reading outside of your one you wrote?
um, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman is a
Let's
great book.
go. Let's go.
Um, dude, there there's a lot. I don't nothing like
Oh no, no, yeah, that's a
yeah.
good book. No, it's good. And what about so like if somebody, if how do one last question I have as an entrepreneur dealing with stress, what's your top advice for them?
So, this took me years to realize, years of and years of creating habits and practicing them. Stress is overrated, and I don't give a shit about it. I really don't. And I've come to that point in my life because of the path behind me, right? I'm like, okay, bring it on now. Okay, see what I could do. Okay, no problem. Okay, that's okay, great. Like everything, okay, no problem. So I know it's easier said than done, but all of these things like practicing gratitude, right? Having to be healthy, having to be able to impact lives and also have that reciprocation of gratitude from somebody else. All these things help me along the way where now I'm like, okay, bring it on.
You can look back, right? So you don't spend time in the past, but you do acknowledge what you've done. So that gives
Yeah,
you
have to.
confidence. It gives you confidence in the future, right?
Yeah, you can bring it. Never to stay in the past. You always have to be present. You look forward to the future, right? So, and as long as we keep moving forward, if you're standing still and you're not moving, what's going on? Now we're wasting time. Like I said before, we can't get back time, but we can make more money.
So you use that to motivate you because your time is valuable.
You said it before. Now, after COVID, right? You were home with your son. You're like, I'm missing out on all this. Could you have paid for that?
No. I mean,
Could you,
I would.
right?
I'd pay a lot for it, but I don't think
But
yet.
it wouldn't be the same thing, right? At 19 years old, you lost your dad. What happened with your dad?
Oh, he went to sleep. He had an aneurysm he passed away while I was sleeping one night.
Right. So you can't pay, right, to go back one more day,
Yeah.
right? But you would love to go back one more day and in that day to just absorb everything, not knowing what the future will hold.
Yeah. I actually say that I had him so after a while I felt like I was kind of a victim, but then I realized that I actually was blessed. I had him for 19 years. So that was the flip side. And that's
Good.
that's what I believe.
That's awesome.
Anyway, Anthony, I know you have to jump off. Anthony Espo, thank you so much. This was great. I love your story, and I think what you're doing is amazing. You're helping people, and your message is crystal clear, and it's fantastic.
Jimmy, thank you so much, man. It was great to jump on and actually just chop it up with you,
Absolutely,
after so many
absolutely.
years.
Also, thank you so much, Anthony, and I
All right.
really appreciate it, man.